In the midst of the Caribbean Sea, where the horizon meets endless blue, lies a small but striking island known as Little St. James. This island, spanning just over 70 acres, is a testament to the natural beauty bestowed by the Creator. Its shores are lined with soft white sands, and its interior is a tapestry of lush green vegetation. The air is filled with the gentle rustle of palm fronds and the rhythmic sound of waves, creating an atmosphere of tranquility and reflection. The coral reefs that encircle the island teem with vibrant marine life, a reminder of the intricate balance and diversity found in Allah's creation. Geographically, Little St. James is situated just off the coast of St. Thomas, separated by a narrow channel of clear water. Its position has long made it a desirable location, offering both seclusion and access to the bustling activity of the Virgin Islands. The island's natural harbours and hidden coves have provided shelter to travellers and seafarers for generations, serving as a place of rest and safety in the vast expanse of the ocean. The history of Little St. James reaches back to the era of colonial expansion, when European powers sought to control the Caribbean's valuable trade routes. For many years the island remained untouched by permanent settlement, serving as a quiet refuge for passing ships and a sanctuary for wildlife. Over time it passed from one private owner to another, each drawn by its serene beauty and the promise of solitude away from the world's distractions. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, Little St. James was owned by various American and European families. Modest estates were built, and the island became a private retreat for those seeking peace and a connection with nature. Locally, it was known as a place of tranquility and natural splendour where the outside world seemed distant. The island's reputation was one of exclusivity, but it was not tainted by scandal or wrongdoing. Instead, it was a place where the blessings of nature could be appreciated in quiet contemplation. For decades, caretakers maintained the island's gardens and pathways, ensuring that its natural beauty was preserved. Occasionally, guests would arrive by boat, seeking respite from the busyness of life. There were no extravagant gatherings or notorious events, only the simple rhythm of island life, marked by the rising and setting of the sun and the opportunity for reflection and gratitude for the blessings of creation. In the latter half of the 20th century, Little St. James changed hands several times. These transactions were quiet, attracting little attention from the outside world. The island's reputation as a peaceful sanctuary remained intact, known only to a select few who valued its seclusion and natural beauty. However, in 1998, the island's fate took a dramatic turn when it was purchased by financier Jeffrey Epstein. The natural beauty that had long defined Little St. James would soon be overshadowed by troubling events. The palm-fringed beaches and sunlit coves, once symbols of peace, became the setting for a story that would bring the island to global attention for all the wrong reasons. Little St. James was accessible only by private boat or helicopter, a deliberate design to ensure privacy and isolation. This remoteness was not merely a feature of geography, but a conscious choice to keep the island's activities hidden from public view. The secrecy surrounding arrivals and departures added to the island's mystique, fueling speculation and rumours about what truly occurred within its borders. The dense jungle and winding, concealed pathways made it easy for activities to remain unseen. The island's isolation ensured that whatever happened there was shielded from the outside world, allowing secrets to remain hidden and unchecked. This environment, where privacy was absolute, became fertile ground for rumours and suspicion. As time passed, whispers of disturbing events began to circulate. Despite its outward beauty, Little St. James became associated with scandal and wrongdoing. Allegations of serious crimes cast a shadow over the island, transforming its image from a place of luxury and peace to one of fear and suspicion. The contrast of Little St. James is striking. On one side, a paradise of sun and sea. On the other, a symbol of exploitation and suffering. Here, the boundaries between beauty and darkness, between sanctuary and trial, became tragically blurred. It is a reminder that outward appearances can be deceiving, and that true peace is found not in isolation but in righteousness and justice. Today the island's dark legacy remains. It stands as a sombre reminder of the consequences of unchecked power and secrecy, echoing with the stories of those who suffered in silence. The lessons of Little St. James are clear. Justice, transparency and compassion must always prevail over secrecy and wrongdoing. The story of Little St. James is not merely a tale of a beautiful island gone astray. It is a cautionary lesson for all, reminding us of the dangers of unchecked authority and the importance of accountability. In Islam, we are taught that every soul will be held accountable for its deeds and that justice is a sacred trust. May we always strive to uphold truth, protect the innocent, and seek forgiveness for our shortcomings, remembering that ultimate justice belongs to Allah, the Most Just. In 1998, Jeffrey Epstein, a financier with a growing reputation among the world's elite, set his sights on Little St. James, a secluded 70-acre island in the US Virgin Islands. The acquisition was not a simple transaction. Epstein, known for his meticulous attention to detail, entered into negotiations with the island's previous owner, a prominent local businessman. The deal, reportedly brokered through a series of shell companies and legal intermediaries, was finalized for $7.95 million. Epstein's legal team ensured the purchase was shrouded in confidentiality, minimizing public scrutiny and keeping his name out of the initial paperwork. The legal process involved navigating the complex property laws of the Virgin Islands, with Epstein's lawyers working to secure exclusive rights and favorable tax arrangements. Once the deed was transferred, Epstein wasted no time in transforming the island. Construction crews arrived, and soon the landscape was dotted with new structures: a grand mansion, guest villas, and a mysterious blue and white temple. The island's infrastructure was upgraded, including private docks and enhanced security systems. Epstein's motivations for acquiring Little St. James went beyond luxury. The island's isolation offered him a unique blend of privacy and control. Early on, he began inviting select guests, politicians, business magnates and celebrities, under the guise of exclusive retreats and philanthropic gatherings. These visits were carefully orchestrated, with staff sworn to secrecy and strict protocols for arrivals and departures. The transformation of Little St. James was swift. What had once been a quiet, unremarkable island became a hub of activity, with Epstein at the centre. Early activities included lavish parties, private meetings, and the establishment of a staff network loyal to Epstein. The island's remoteness allowed him to operate with little oversight, and rumours of secretive gatherings began to circulate among locals and the elite alike. Epstein's calculated approach to the island's management was evident from the start. He implemented strict security measures, including surveillance systems and restricted access, ensuring that only trusted individuals could enter. The legal and physical barriers he erected made it nearly impossible for outsiders or authorities to monitor what transpired on Little St. James. The ocean itself became a shield, deterring unwanted visitors and complicating any attempts at investigation. Epstein's early activities on the island, though outwardly legitimate, laid the groundwork for the secrecy and control that would later define Little St. James. As the years passed, the island's reputation shifted. What began as a symbol of wealth and exclusivity gradually became associated with secrecy and suspicion. Reports of unusual comings and goings and whispers of clandestine meetings began to surface. Today, Little St. James stands as a chilling testament to Epstein's calculated acquisition and transformation of the island, a place where legal manoeuvring, secrecy and early activities set the stage for the dark legacy that would follow. Little St. James, a secluded island in the Caribbean, was transformed into a private domain, its landscape shaped by the ambitions of its owner. The island's architecture was not merely a display of wealth, but a deliberate effort to create an environment of exclusivity, privacy and control. Every building, pathway and garden was positioned with intention, forming a harmonious yet secretive retreat, isolated from the distractions and influences of the outside world. Among the many structures, two stood out as the most significant: the Grand Villa and the mysterious temple, each with its own unique architectural story and purpose. At the centre of the island's design was the Grand Villa, a residence that served as the focal point of daily life. The villa's blueprints reveal a complex structure, with interconnected wings, multiple levels, and a series of terraces that offered sweeping views of the ocean. The construction process was meticulous, with each phase adding new layers of privacy and sophistication. The villa's placement on elevated ground allowed for both security and tranquility, ensuring that its inhabitants could enjoy the natural beauty of the island while remaining shielded from prying eyes. The villa's architecture was a blend of luxury and strategic design. Expansive windows and open terraces provided natural light and fresh air, while the interior was carefully arranged to maximize comfort and privacy. Reports and blueprints suggest the existence of concealed rooms and hidden corridors, features that have led to much speculation. These secret spaces may have been intended for private meetings or as secure retreats, reflecting a desire for discretion and control over who could access certain areas. The most enigmatic structure on the island was the so-called temple, a building that quickly became a symbol of mystery. Its striking blue and white striped exterior set it apart from the other buildings, and its design was both simple and imposing. Architectural plans indicate a single-room layout with thick, reinforced walls and a heavy door, suggesting that the temple was built for security and seclusion. The construction appears to have been completed rapidly, possibly to minimize attention and maintain secrecy. The temple's architecture was designed to prevent observation from the outside. Covered windows and limited entry points ensured that the interior remained hidden from view. There are persistent rumours about hidden rooms beneath the floor or behind false walls, though these remain unconfirmed. The building's symbolic elements, such as the golden dome and bold stripes, have led some to speculate about their meaning, with theories ranging from references to ancient places of worship to symbols of exclusivity and power. However, it is important to approach such speculation with caution and avoid unfounded assumptions. In addition to the villa and temple, the island featured a private library. This building was likely intended as a place for study, reflection, and the pursuit of knowledge. The library's quiet atmosphere and secluded location made it an ideal setting for reading and contemplation, in line with the Islamic value of seeking beneficial knowledge and maintaining a peaceful environment. The island also included a cinema and a bathhouse. The cinema provided a space for private screenings, while the bathhouse, adorned with classical columns, offered a place for relaxation and rejuvenation. Both facilities were designed to promote comfort and well-being, without excess or extravagance, in accordance with the principle of moderation. Every building on Little St. James was constructed with privacy and comfort in mind. The architecture emphasized seclusion, allowing guests to enjoy the island's amenities without disturbance. The overall design reflected a desire to create a self-contained world, where every need could be met within the boundaries of the island. The facades of the buildings were adorned with symbolic motifs, and there are reports of secret passageways connecting different parts of the estate. These features have fueled public curiosity, but their true purpose remains unclear. It is essential to avoid conjecture and focus on the architectural details themselves, which demonstrate a preference for grandeur and security. The island functioned as both a sanctuary and a fortress. High walls, dense vegetation, and security measures ensured that only those with permission could enter. The dramatic architecture projected an image of strength and exclusivity, reinforcing the island's reputation as a place apart from the ordinary world. This combination of luxury and secrecy allowed the island to operate as a private enclave, shielded from outside scrutiny. The Grand Villa and the enigmatic temple, with their hidden spaces and symbolic designs, continue to be subjects of public interest and speculation. As we reflect on these architectural highlights, it is important to remember the values of modesty, privacy, and the responsible use of resources, as taught in Islam, and to avoid any form of excess or wrongdoing. Little St. James, a seemingly tranquil island in the Caribbean, concealed a reality far darker than its picturesque shores suggested. What appeared to be a private sanctuary for the wealthy was, in truth, the centre of a vast and secretive trafficking operation, as revealed by numerous investigations and law enforcement actions. The island's isolation, surrounded by endless blue waters, made it an ideal location for those seeking to hide their actions from the world. Many individuals, including vulnerable youth, were enticed to the island with promises of opportunity, offers of employment, education, or financial assistance. These promises, however, were nothing but deception. Once on the island, these individuals found themselves trapped, their freedom restricted, and their hopes shattered. Testimonies from survivors, delivered with courage in courtrooms, describe a cycle of manipulation and control, where trust was betrayed and dignity was denied. The remoteness of Little St. James, combined with constant surveillance and strict security, made any attempt to leave nearly impossible. Security cameras, locked gates, and vigilant guards ensured that the island remained closed off from the outside world. Law enforcement reports detail how this isolation enabled systematic wrongdoing hidden from the eyes of society and authorities. The staff on the island played a significant role in maintaining secrecy. They were responsible for enforcing strict rules, destroying evidence, and ensuring that all activities remained hidden from both authorities and the public. Their actions included shredding documents, erasing security footage, and keeping silent about what they witnessed. Investigations later uncovered a complex network of underground tunnels, secret rooms, and hidden pathways. These features were designed to move people and guests discreetly, away from any observation. Boats and planes would arrive under the cover of darkness, and hidden doors within buildings allowed for movement without detection. The truth began to emerge when law enforcement, including the FBI, conducted thorough investigations and raids on the island. Court cases and legal documents revealed the full extent of the crimes, exposing the sophisticated methods used to conceal wrongdoing. The pursuit of justice became a beacon of hope for those who had suffered, as authorities worked tirelessly to bring the perpetrators to account. Today, Little St. James stands as a sombre reminder of the consequences of unchecked power and the suffering endured by the innocent. The island story is a call to uphold justice, protect the vulnerable, and ensure that such injustices are never repeated. In accordance with Islamic principles, we are reminded that every soul is sacred and justice is a duty upon all. May the lessons learned from this tragedy inspire vigilance, compassion, and unwavering commitment to truth and accountability. Little St. James became a magnet for a wide array of high-profile individuals, each drawn by Jeffrey Epstein's extensive network and influence. Among the most publicised visitors were Prince Andrew, whose visits reportedly spanned from 1999 to 2010, and Bill Clinton, who's documented to have flown on Epstein's private jet several times between 2002 and 2003. Kevin Spacey, the actor, was also seen at Epstein's gatherings, often alongside other celebrities and influential figures such as lawyer Alan Dershowitz, each with varying degrees of association and denial. Lesser-known associates included financier Glenn Dubin, MIT scientist Joy Ito, and former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, all of whom maintained professional or personal ties with Epstein, sometimes visiting the island for meetings or social events. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's close confidant, played a pivotal role from the mid-1990s through 2019, orchestrating introductions and managing social interactions that expanded Epstein's reach. The presence of influential people from finance, academia and technology underscored Epstein's ability to bridge disparate worlds, often blurring the lines between business, science and social circles. These associations, both public and private, fueled ongoing speculation about complicity, protection and the true extent of Epstein's influence, raising questions that remain unanswered to this day. The arrest of Jeffrey Epstein in 2019 on federal charges of sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy marked a significant turning point in the pursuit of justice. The news of his apprehension quickly spread, drawing the attention of the public and media alike. Law enforcement officials, acting on detailed investigations, took careful steps to ensure the process was conducted with integrity and in accordance with the law. The courthouse became a focal point for reporters and concerned citizens, all seeking answers and accountability. Within the walls of the courthouse, prosecutors presented a comprehensive case, outlining the extent of the alleged criminal network. The defense, meanwhile, argued for bail, referencing previous legal agreements. The sudden and controversial death of Epstein in jail, officially ruled a suicide, led to widespread speculation and numerous theories, further complicating the legal landscape and intensifying calls for transparency. The legal process did not end with Epstein. Authorities continued their investigations, leading to further arrests and charges against individuals accused of facilitating or enabling unlawful acts. The trials were marked by detailed testimonies, rigorous cross-examinations, and the presentation of substantial evidence. The proceedings were conducted with respect for the dignity of all involved, in line with the principles of justice and fairness. In December 2021, a major conviction was secured, resulting in a lengthy prison sentence for one of the key defendants. This outcome was seen as a significant milestone in the pursuit of justice, offering a measure of closure to those who had long sought accountability. The verdict was delivered in a solemn courtroom, with the judge emphasizing the importance of upholding the law and protecting the vulnerable. Alongside the criminal proceedings, numerous civil lawsuits were filed against Epstein's estate. Many individuals sought not only financial compensation but also public acknowledgement of their suffering. These cases were handled with sensitivity, and many resulted in confidential settlements. The secrecy surrounding these agreements sparked ongoing debates about the need for transparency and the true meaning of justice. Financial institutions that had dealings with Epstein also came under scrutiny. Prosecutors argued that some banks and financial entities failed to report suspicious activities, potentially enabling unlawful conduct. These organizations faced lawsuits and regulatory investigations, with their representatives maintaining that all actions were within the bounds of the law. The high-profile settlements that followed highlighted the need for greater institutional accountability. These outcomes underscored the importance of reform within legal and financial systems, prompting public outcry and renewed calls for justice and ethical conduct. The legal journey surrounding Epstein's case was marked by complex proceedings, intense public interest, and a collective demand for justice. Through careful adherence to due process and the principles of fairness, the courts sought to uphold the rights of all parties, reminding us of the enduring importance of justice, accountability, and compassion in society. Following the passing of Jeffrey Epstein, the fate of Little St. James became a subject of intense public interest and speculation. The island, once shrouded in secrecy, was placed on the market, attracting attention from a diverse array of potential buyers. Among them were private investors seeking a secluded retreat, developers envisioning new projects, and advocacy groups proposing to dedicate the land as a place of remembrance for those affected by past injustices. After much deliberation, the island was ultimately purchased for $60 million by Stephen Dekoff, a businessman who publicly shared his intention to redevelop the property into a luxury resort. His vision included transforming the landscape, constructing new facilities, and introducing amenities designed to attract visitors seeking tranquility and exclusivity. Dekoff's plans aimed to shift the island's reputation, turning it from a place associated with wrongdoing into a destination for peaceful reflection and relaxation. The redevelopment process includes efforts to restore the natural environment, improve infrastructure, and create spaces for contemplation and community gathering. However, these ambitious plans have ignited a spirited debate. Some members of the public and community leaders argue that constructing a resort risks erasing the painful history of the island, potentially disregarding the suffering that occurred there. Others believe that renewal and positive change can help heal old wounds, offering a chance for the land to serve a new beneficial purpose. Critics raise important ethical questions about the commercialization of a site marked by trauma. They suggest that, in accordance with principles of justice and remembrance, it may be more appropriate to preserve the island as a memorial, honouring the victims and ensuring that the lessons of the past are not forgotten. The future of Little St. James remains under close observation by the public, legal authorities and community leaders. The ongoing discussion centres on whether the island's transformation represents genuine progress or a concerning act of erasure, with many calling for transparency and respect for those affected by its history. As Little St. James embarks on a new chapter, the balance between moving forward and honouring the past remains a central concern. The island's legacy will ultimately be shaped by the choices made today. Choices that must be guided by justice, compassion, and a sincere commitment to truth. In the year 2024, a significant development unfolded as a large collection of previously sealed documents was made public. These files, meticulously gathered from court proceedings and official investigations, offered a rare and comprehensive glimpse into the intricate operations and far-reaching connections of Jeffrey Epstein's network. The documents included detailed records of financial transactions, correspondence, and lists of individuals who had previously remained unnamed. Their release marked a turning point in the ongoing quest for truth and accountability. Among the most notable findings was the identification of 170 individuals, many of whom held positions of influence in politics, business, and the media. The documents traced their involvement through a web of emails, travel records, and financial exchanges, painting a clearer picture of the network's complexity. Each name represented a potential lead, and the sheer volume of information prompted renewed scrutiny from both authorities and the public. Scholars and experts who examined the documents remarked on the elaborate network of relationships revealed within. Several new names emerged as possible witnesses or individuals of interest, expanding the scope of ongoing investigations. Dr. Ahmed Farouqi, a respected investigative journalist, observed, "These documents not only reveal the breadth of Epstein's influence, but also the depth of his connections, opening new avenues for inquiry and justice." The impact of these revelations was immediate. Law enforcement agencies began to revisit old leads, re-examining evidence and re-interviewing witnesses in light of the new information. Prosecutors cited the newly uncovered evidence as justification for broadening the scope of their investigations, seeking to ensure that justice would be served in accordance with the principles of fairness and due process. The public response was swift and passionate. Communities across the world, including those guided by Islamic values, called for transparency, accountability and systemic reform. Legal analyst Yusuf Rahman stated, "The clarity these documents provide is essential for justice, but they also remind us of the challenges involved in prosecuting such a complex and far-reaching case. It is our duty to seek truth and uphold justice, as taught in our faith." Despite the wealth of information, many questions remain unanswered. Numerous documents are heavily redacted, and some key individuals are still unnamed, leaving significant gaps in the narrative. The search for truth continues, as investigators and the public strive to uncover the full extent of the network and its activities. Ultimately, the release of the 2024 documents serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of transparency, vigilance and steadfastness in the pursuit of justice. As investigators and communities continue their efforts, it is essential to uphold the values of honesty, integrity and compassion, seeking closure and accountability in a manner that aligns with the highest ethical and spiritual standards. The legacy of Little St. James is not merely one of secrecy and scandal, but of profound suffering endured by many innocent souls. The actions that took place on this remote island have left wounds that are deep and enduring, affecting not only individuals but entire families and communities. For countless people, the island stands as a painful reminder of lost trust, shattered dignity, and the innocence that was taken from them. The emotional and psychological impact is immense, and the pain is often carried in silence. In the face of adversity, survivors have shown remarkable courage by coming forward to share their experiences. Through their words, they seek not only personal healing, but also to protect others from harm. Their testimonies are a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the importance of truth. The pursuit of justice has relied heavily on these brave accounts. In courtrooms and legal proceedings, their voices have been instrumental in uncovering the truth. Advocacy groups and legal aid organizations have stood by their side, offering guidance and support in accordance with principles of fairness and compassion. While the emotional scars may never fully fade, support networks rooted in empathy and faith provide comfort. Counseling, group discussions and spiritual guidance help survivors find solace and rebuild their sense of self-worth. The quest for justice is ongoing. Advocacy efforts, public awareness campaigns and community initiatives continue to call for accountability and meaningful reform. These actions are inspired by the Islamic values of justice, mercy and the protection of the vulnerable. While financial settlements may offer some measure of restitution, they cannot erase the pain or restore what was lost. True justice lies in sincere repentance, accountability, and the prevention of future harm. Yet hope endures. The resilience of survivors, the steadfast support of allies, and the collective commitment to justice and compassion inspire a vision for a better future. Through patience, prayer, and unity, we strive for a world where dignity is protected and justice prevails for all. When discussing the mysteries of Little St. James, much of the focus often falls on the powerful guests and the survivors of troubling events. Yet there is another group whose experiences are rarely brought to light: The staff who worked quietly behind the scenes, witnessing the island's daily life and its many secrets. The staff included housekeepers, groundskeepers, cooks and boat captains. Each played a vital role in maintaining the island's operations, ensuring that every detail was attended to with precision and care. Many of these workers were recruited through agencies, drawn by promises of generous pay and the expectation of absolute discretion. For some, the opportunity seemed like a blessing, a chance to provide for their families and build a better future. Their days began before sunrise, filled with a strict routine, cleaning the grand residences, preparing elaborate meals, tending to the lush gardens, and transporting guests to and from the island by boat. Every task was performed with diligence as the staff strove to uphold the highest standards of service. However, beneath the surface of this orderly environment there was a constant sense of being watched. Surveillance cameras were everywhere, and strict rules governed every aspect of their work. Anonymous testimonies reveal that staff were always aware of the need to be cautious and to avoid drawing attention to themselves. One former staff member recalled, "We were told not to ask questions." The culture of silence was enforced from the very beginning, and staff quickly learned that curiosity was discouraged. Certain areas of the island were always off-limits. Staff were instructed to avoid these places and to complete their duties swiftly, never lingering where they were not permitted. Another staff member described how, at times, private jets and helicopters would arrive late at night. The staff would be called upon to assist with arrivals, but were instructed to keep their distance and not to inquire about the guests. They were often told to prepare rooms and then leave immediately, never remaining in the presence of guests longer than necessary. Staff were required to sign strict confidentiality agreements, reinforcing the message that what happened on the island was not to be discussed with anyone outside. There was a sense of unease, shared a former chef. The atmosphere was tense, and many staff members felt the weight of responsibility and secrecy. Some staff would quietly confide in one another, expressing concern about things they observed that did not make sense. But everyone knew that speaking out could mean losing their livelihood or facing even greater consequences. Despite these risks, a few courageous staff members have come forward, providing valuable testimony and evidence to authorities. Their accounts have been instrumental in helping investigators reconstruct the timeline of events and verify the stories of others. Many former staff continue to struggle with feelings of guilt and trauma, troubled by what they witnessed or suspected during their time on the island. Today, some of these individuals have joined advocacy groups, sharing their experiences to support efforts for justice and transparency, and to help others who may have faced similar challenges. Their bravery in breaking the silence is a testament to the importance of truth and accountability. By stepping forward, they contribute to a more complete understanding of what occurred on Little St. James and help ensure that justice and righteousness are upheld in accordance with the values of honesty and integrity emphasized in Islam. In the pursuit of truth regarding the enigmatic affairs on Little St. James, it is often said that the clearest path to understanding lies not in rumour or speculation, but in the careful tracing of financial transactions. The movement of wealth, when examined with diligence and integrity, can reveal much about the intentions and actions of those involved. The financial dealings orchestrated by Jeffrey Epstein were deliberately intricate, designed to confound even the most experienced investigators. His approach to managing wealth was not one of transparency, but of calculated complexity. Beneath the surface, a vast network of offshore accounts, layered trusts, and shell companies was established. These entities served to obscure the true origins and destinations of funds, making the financial landscape surrounding the island as impenetrable as a dense forest. Records indicate that Epstein registered a multitude of companies within the Virgin Islands, each with its own official address and paperwork, yet many lacking any real-world operations or employees. These so-called paper companies existed in name only, serving as vessels for the movement of money without providing any tangible goods or services. Through these shell corporations, vast sums were transferred across a web of banks spanning the Caribbean, Europe, and other financial centres, further complicating efforts to trace the true flow of wealth. Investigators have identified payments originating from these entities that were used to acquire private jets and luxury yachts, symbols of extravagant living and worldly status. Even the salaries of staff members working on the island were often paid through these complex channels, making it difficult to discern the true employer or the ultimate source of the funds. This deliberate obfuscation rendered the origins of Epstein's wealth, as well as its final recipients, shrouded in uncertainty and doubt. Financial crime specialists explain that such elaborate structures are often employed to conceal ownership, evade regulatory oversight, and hinder lawful investigation. As one forensic accountant observes, the use of offshore accounts and multiple layers of transactions is a well-known method for hiding unlawful activity and avoiding accountability. In some instances, payments were disguised as consulting fees or charitable donations, further complicating the task of those seeking to follow the money trail. This practice of mislabeling transactions made it even more challenging for authorities to distinguish between legitimate business and concealed wrongdoing. Recently unsealed court documents have revealed that some of these funds were allocated to pay legal settlements and cover substantial legal fees. Other sums were directed toward maintaining the island's infrastructure and supporting a lifestyle marked by opulence and excess, with no regard for moderation or humility. There is also evidence to suggest that certain associates and prominent visitors to the island received financial benefits, whether through business arrangements or discreet payments. These transactions, sometimes resembling business deals and at other times appearing as hush money, further cloud the ethical and legal boundaries of the financial web. Despite the ongoing efforts of investigators, a significant portion of Epstein's fortune remains unaccounted for, hidden behind layers of secrecy and misdirection. This raises important questions about who else may have benefited from these financial arrangements and whether justice will ultimately prevail. As authorities continue their painstaking work to unravel the tangled threads of this financial maze, each new discovery brings the world closer to the truth. With every revelation, the veil of secrecy surrounding Little St. James is slowly lifted, offering a clearer view of the operations that once thrived in darkness. May the pursuit of justice be guided by honesty, transparency, and the principles of righteousness, as taught in Islam, so that truth may prevail and wrongdoing be brought to account. The far-reaching consequences of the Epstein case have sent powerful shockwaves across the globe, radiating outward from the isolated shores of Little St. James. What began as a local investigation soon became a matter of international concern as the world watched in disbelief at the scale of the revelations. As the intricate details of Epstein's network came to light, political scandals erupted in multiple countries. High-ranking officials, influential business leaders, and even members of royal families found themselves entangled in a web of suspicion and controversy. The public demanded answers, and the media closely scrutinized every connection, seeking the truth behind the headlines. Governments in the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and other nations faced mounting pressure to address allegations involving their own citizens and officials. The calls for transparency and justice grew louder as people questioned how such a network could have operated for so long without detection. In response, international law enforcement agencies began working together more closely than ever before. Detectives and investigators exchanged vital information, forming alliances to uncover the full extent of Epstein's global connections. This unprecedented cooperation highlighted the importance of unity in the pursuit of justice. Within the halls of power, the case sparked intense debates about accountability, privilege, and the responsibilities of those in authority. Lawmakers and officials engaged in passionate discussions, seeking to understand how such abuses could occur and how to prevent them in the future. Parliamentary hearings and congressional inquiries were convened to examine failures in oversight and to question the systems that allowed such a network to remain hidden. Officials pored over documents and testimonies, determined to identify weaknesses and implement meaningful reforms. In the aftermath, several countries introduced new regulations to strengthen oversight of financial institutions and offshore banking. These measures aim to prevent the misuse of financial systems and to provide greater protection for those vulnerable to exploitation and trafficking. Human rights organizations around the world raised their voices, calling for comprehensive reforms in extradition laws and international cooperation. They argued that the Epstein case had exposed significant gaps in the global effort to combat cross-border crime and urged nations to work together to ensure justice for all. For many, the case became a powerful catalyst for change, a clear reminder that the abuse of power and the failure to uphold justice can have consequences that reach every corner of the world. Communities united in their demand for accountability and the protection of the innocent. As governments continue to reassess their policies and legal frameworks, the enduring impact of the Epstein case serves as a lesson for all. It emphasizes the necessity of justice, transparency, and the safeguarding of the vulnerable in accordance with the principles of fairness and righteousness that are central to Islamic teachings and to the well-being of societies everywhere. The saga of Little St. James and Jeffrey Epstein is not merely a tale of legal battles and political intrigue. It is a profound lesson in how information, perception and truth are shaped and disseminated in our modern world. The story's impact extended far beyond the walls of courtrooms, echoing through the hearts and minds of people across the globe. In the court of public opinion, narratives are forged not only by facts, but by the way those facts are presented, discussed and debated. The media, with its vast reach, became the primary lens through which the world viewed the unfolding events on Epstein Island. From the earliest whispers of wrongdoing to the eventual flood of revelations, journalists and news organizations played a pivotal role in uncovering the island's secrets. Their presence, symbolized by cameras and microphones, signaled to the world that something significant was taking place. At first, many mainstream outlets hesitated to report on the allegations, treating them as mere rumors or dismissing them as sensationalist tales unworthy of serious attention. Some stories were quietly set aside, and important details were overlooked or discarded, leaving the public in the dark about the true nature of the events. Yet the determination of investigative journalists could not be easily silenced. With patience and persistence, they began to piece together a more complete and accurate narrative. Reporters from respected outlets such as the Miami Herald and the New York Times, as well as independent journalists, worked tirelessly to verify facts, cross-reference sources, and bring clarity to a complex web of information. They examined court documents, scrutinized legal filings, and followed every lead, no matter how obscure, in their quest for the truth. Through their efforts, the voices of those who had long been ignored were finally heard. The media provided a platform for individuals to share their experiences and for the public to understand the gravity of the situation. As the story gained momentum, people from all corners of the world turned their attention to the unfolding events, seeking knowledge and understanding. The renewed interest from both authorities and the public led to further investigations and a deeper examination of the facts. As coverage intensified, the collective perception of Epstein and his associates underwent a dramatic transformation. What was once dismissed as idle gossip became a matter of urgent public concern, and the world watched in shock as the truth emerged. The transition from whispered rumours to headline news was swift, and the media's role in this transformation was undeniable. The revelations also sparked widespread outrage, as suspicions about the untouchability of the wealthy elite were brought to the forefront of public discourse. Social media platforms became arenas for discussion, debate, and the sharing of information, amplifying the story's reach and impact. Hashtags and online campaigns transformed Epstein Island into a symbol of systemic failure and the dangers of unchecked power, prompting calls for justice and reform. Documentaries, podcasts, and in-depth analyses examined every aspect of the case, ensuring that the story remained in the public consciousness. The spotlight on the island grew ever brighter, and the world's attention did not waver. However, the media's involvement was not without its own challenges. Accusations of selective reporting, censorship, and undue influence by powerful interests surfaced, raising important questions about the integrity and independence of the press. These concerns highlighted the delicate balance between informing the public and protecting the interests of those in positions of authority. Despite these obstacles, the perseverance of dedicated journalists proved essential. Their commitment to uncovering the truth, even in the face of adversity, was a testament to the importance of honest reporting. Without their tireless efforts, many crucial facts would have remained hidden, and justice might never have been served. Ultimately, the media's coverage of Epstein Island stands as a powerful example of both the influence and the responsibility that comes with reporting the news. It serves as a reminder that journalism, when practiced with integrity and sincerity, can be a force for justice and accountability. The press, when guided by truth and ethical principles, has the power to confront wrongdoing and illuminate the path toward justice. The world is reminded that enlightenment and understanding come from seeking knowledge and exposing falsehood in accordance with the values of honesty and justice. In the end, the truth is a treasure that lies beneath many layers, and it is only through steadfast effort, patience, and reliance on ethical principles that it can be uncovered, no matter the obstacles that stand in the way. As the revelations about Little St. James Island began to surface, the world was swept by a torrent of speculation, rumours, and misinformation. The truth, often elusive and shrouded in secrecy, became entangled with countless theories, each more elaborate than the last. In this environment, the boundaries between fact and fiction blurred, and the search for clarity became ever more challenging. In the absence of clear answers, and with official documents heavily redacted, people turned to online forums, social media, and alternative news sources. Here, speculation flourished. Individuals, sometimes with sincere intentions, tried to piece together the puzzle, while others spread unverified claims, further clouding the truth. Theories ranged from the existence of secret underground passages and cryptic symbols to allegations of hidden groups orchestrating events from the shadows. Some claimed there were global conspiracies at play, involving powerful individuals whose influence extended far beyond the island. While a few of these ideas were rooted in fragments of truth, many were woven from imagination and conjecture. The line between genuine investigation and baseless storytelling became increasingly difficult to discern. The origins of these conspiracy theories often lay in a deep sense of frustration and distrust. Many felt that the complete truth was being concealed, and that those with wealth and power might evade justice. This sense of injustice fueled further speculation and suspicion. The secrecy surrounding the island's visitors, the enigmatic Blue Temple, and the unexplained sources of wealth only intensified public curiosity. Each unanswered question became a spark for new theories, some plausible, others far-fetched. Online investigators, sometimes called Internet sleuths, meticulously examined satellite images, analysed flight records, and shared their findings with the world. Their efforts, while sometimes helpful, often blurred the distinction between careful research and imaginative speculation. The rapid spread of misinformation had tangible consequences. False claims and rumours could quickly gain traction, leading to confusion and misunderstanding on a global scale. Law enforcement officials and journalists found themselves not only investigating the facts of the case, but also working tirelessly to dispel falsehoods and correct public misconceptions. The sheer volume of misleading information made their task even more difficult. Some conspiracy theories distracted from the real issues at hand, overshadowing the stories of those who had suffered and casting doubt on legitimate evidence. This confusion made it harder for the public to understand what had truly taken place. In certain instances, wild and unfounded allegations even threatened to disrupt ongoing investigations, making it more challenging for authorities to uncover the truth. Despite the confusion, the public's desire for answers remained strong. This persistent demand for transparency and justice placed continuous pressure on officials to pursue the truth with diligence and integrity. The greatest challenge became distinguishing between what was real and what was mere speculation. True justice could only be achieved by relying on verified evidence, not on rumours or conjecture. As the story of Epstein Island continues to unfold, the legacy of conspiracy theories serves as a powerful reminder. In Islam, the pursuit of truth is a noble duty, and spreading unverified information is strongly discouraged. We are taught to verify news, avoid suspicion, and uphold justice with fairness and patience. May we always strive to separate truth from falsehood, seeking clarity and wisdom in all matters, and remembering that ultimate knowledge belongs to Allah alone. The passing of Jeffrey Epstein in August 2019 signalled a dramatic shift in a saga that had already gripped the world. Yet, his death was not the conclusion, but rather the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with uncertainty, reflection, and a renewed call for justice. The news of his demise sent shockwaves across continents as people everywhere struggled to comprehend the magnitude of what had transpired. Official reports declared his death a suicide within the confines of a high-security prison. However, this only deepened the suspicions of many, as questions multiplied about the circumstances and the failures that allowed such an event to occur. For countless observers, the most vital truths seemed to vanish with him, locked away and perhaps never to be revealed in this world. Nevertheless, the pursuit of justice did not cease. Investigators, driven by a sense of duty and the principles of accountability, pressed forward, determined to uncover the full extent of the wrongdoing. Federal authorities redirected their efforts, focusing on those who had enabled or participated in the network of corruption. Lawsuits increased, and the web of complicity began to unravel, revealing the depth of the crimes and the many who had turned a blind eye. New witnesses stepped forward, and those who had suffered continued to speak out, striving to ensure that their voices would not be silenced and that justice would be served for all who had been wronged. Prominent individuals once associated with Little St. James found themselves under renewed scrutiny. Their reputations, once celebrated, were now forever changed by the revelations, yet Despite the investigations, many questions remain unanswered. Who else was involved in these hidden dealings? Who shielded the truth from the light? How far did the concealment of these crimes extend? What layers of secrecy still protect those who have not been brought to account? Within sealed court records and classified files, it is believed that many secrets remain, hidden from public view and awaiting the day when all truth is revealed. For every answer that emerges, new mysteries arise, as if the path to justice is an endless maze, testing the patience and resolve of all who seek the truth. The island of Little St. James has become a symbol, its very name a reminder of the darkness that once enveloped it, and a warning to all about the consequences of unchecked power and secrecy. Eventually the island was placed on the market. After lengthy legal disputes, it was sold, its future uncertain, and the world watching to see what would become of this infamous place. Some speculate that the island may be restored or repurposed, while others believe it should be left to decay, a scar upon the earth and a lesson for generations to come. There are those who advocate for transforming the island into a memorial, honouring the victims and serving as a place of reflection. Others argue that it should be erased from memory, its legacy not to be glorified but to serve as a warning. As time passes, the shadow of these events continues to stretch across society, a constant reminder that justice delayed is justice denied, and that the consequences of wrongdoing can linger for generations. The pursuit of truth and accountability endures, led by those who refuse to let injustice be forgotten. Their perseverance is a testament to the importance of standing for what is right, as taught in the noble teachings of Islam, where justice, honesty and the protection of the innocent are paramount. The story of Little St. James, the investigations and the lingering questions all serve as a powerful reminder: justice is not a destination but a journey, one that requires steadfastness, sincerity and the unwavering pursuit of truth, as enjoined by the Creator. Long before its name became synonymous with scandal and secrecy, Little St. James existed as a quiet, unassuming isle in the turquoise embrace of the Caribbean Sea. Its history stretches back centuries, woven into the larger tapestry of the US Virgin Islands, lands marked by shifting tides of culture, commerce and colonial ambition. The earliest records speak of the indigenous Taino people, who navigated these waters long before European explorers mapped the Caribbean. For them, the islands were places of sustenance and spiritual significance, each cove and hill holding its own quiet story. As the centuries unfolded, Spanish, Danish and finally American flags would flutter over these lands, each leaving their imprint on the archipelago's identity. Little St. James, though diminutive in size, was not untouched by these changes. In the 19th century, it was known as a private retreat, occasionally used by local merchants and planters. The island served primarily as pasture land and a site for modest agricultural efforts, its rocky slopes dotted with goats and native trees. Stone ruins, now overgrown, hint at the humble dwellings and storage buildings that once stood here, testaments to lives spent in simplicity and toil. Throughout the early 20th century, the island changed hands quietly among businessmen and expatriates, its isolation valued as a refuge from the bustle of nearby St. Thomas. For decades, Little St. James remained largely forgotten by the world, a patch of land where fishermen would dock and locals would sometimes visit for a day's respite. There were no lavish villas or grand temples, only the murmur of wind in the grass and the steady rhythm of waves against the shore. It was a place marked by tranquility, its only wealth the peace it offered and the beauty of its unspoiled nature. The island's history during these years is a reminder of the fleetingness of worldly possessions and the value of contentment, echoing the Islamic teaching that true richness lies not in abundance but in a heart at peace. As we reflect on the island's earlier chapters, we are reminded of the cycles of rise and fall that shape all places and people. The story of Little St. James before the shadows is not one of grandeur or notoriety, but of quiet endurance, an island awaiting its fate, bearing witness to the passage of time, and standing as a silent testament to the truth that every land has a story before the world begins to watch. Before the world cast its gaze upon Little St. James for human affairs, the island's truest legacy was written in the language of nature. Tucked within its rocky coastline and sun-dappled clearings, a vibrant tapestry of life unfolded, largely undisturbed for centuries. The island, though modest in size, nurtured an array of native flora, fragrant frangipani, resilient sea grape, and the sturdy lignum vitae, a tree revered for its strength and medicinal uses. These plants anchored the soil, providing food and shelter for the island's animal inhabitants and standing as signs of Allah's intricate creation. Birdsong once filled the air at dawn and dusk, as banana quits, brown pelicans and Zenaida doves made their homes among the trees and cliffs. Migratory birds, guided by instinct across vast stretches of ocean, paused here to rest and refuel, each visit a reminder of the interconnectedness of all living things. The shoreline, lined with coral rubble and mangroves, served as a nursery for juvenile fish and crabs, sheltering them from the open sea. Sea turtles, protected under both international law and Islamic teaching on the sanctity of life, would sometimes nest on the island's quiet beaches, their ancient cycle continuing in harmony with the tides. Yet, as human presence on the island increased, so too did the pressures on its delicate ecosystems. Imported plants and construction altered the landscape, and the introduction of non-native species, such as goats, reshaped the undergrowth and threatened indigenous flora. Waste and runoff, byproducts of modern habitation, impacted the clarity of the surrounding waters and the health of coral reefs, which are vital not only for marine life, but as a protection against storms. Each of these changes, subtle or stark, served as a testament to the trust humanity holds as stewards of the earth, a trust emphasized repeatedly in the Quran. Today, efforts to restore and preserve the island's natural balance have gained renewed attention. Conservationists and local authorities work quietly to protect what remains and to heal what has been damaged. The lessons of Little St. James remind us that the land is both a trust and a test. Its well-being entrusted to those who dwell upon it, its beauty a sign for those who reflect. As we consider the island's future, we are called to remember that every creature, every tree, every grain of sand is a witness to our actions and a reminder of the Creator's mercy and majesty. Before the headlines and international scrutiny, the Virgin Islands have long stood as a crossroads of cultures, commerce and law. Little St. James, though small and secluded, exists within a broader legal and political framework shaped by centuries of history and a unique relationship with the United States. The territory's legal system is a blend of American federal law and local statutes, guided by the Revised Organic Act of 1954. This act, while granting a measure of self-governance, also binds the islands to federal oversight and judicial authority. The governor, appointed by the people, works alongside a unicameral legislature, all tasked with upholding both local interests and compliance with federal mandates. In matters of justice, the Virgin Islands operate their own courts, yet federal cases, including those involving high-profile figures or interstate crimes, are tried in the District Court of the Virgin Islands. Law enforcement, too, is a shared responsibility. The Virgin Islands Police Department patrols the streets, while federal agencies such as the FBI and Department of Homeland Security retain jurisdiction over certain crimes. Islamic teachings emphasize justice as a pillar of a righteous society. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught that the best among people are those who uphold justice with integrity and compassion. In this spirit, the laws of the Virgin Islands strive to protect the rights of all residents and visitors, regardless of status or wealth. Yet the territory faces challenges inherent to its geography and history. Its location, remote yet strategically important, has made it both a haven and a target for those seeking to exploit its autonomy. Financial regulations, while designed to promote economic growth, have at times been tested by those seeking loopholes for personal gain. Local leaders, aware of these vulnerabilities, work continuously to strengthen oversight and promote transparency. In recent years, the Virgin Islands have taken steps to align with global standards for anti-money laundering and financial integrity. These efforts reflect the Quranic command to avoid deceit and uphold trust in all dealings. Community leaders, imams and educators remind the faithful that justice is not only a legal obligation, but a spiritual one. As Little St. James moves into a new chapter, the legal and political context of the Virgin Islands will play a fundamental role in shaping its destiny. The pursuit of justice, tempered by mercy and guided by divine principles, remains the foundation upon which a peaceful and prosperous society is built. While much of the narrative surrounding Little St. James centres on its infamous owner and secretive guests, another layer of the island's story unfolds in the shadows, its elaborate security and surveillance systems. These measures, both visible and hidden, were integral to controlling access, maintaining privacy, and safeguarding the island's operations. From the moment one approached the island by boat or helicopter, the first line of defence became evident. Private docks monitored by high-resolution cameras and security checkpoints manned by discreet but vigilant staff. The perimeter was dotted with motion sensors and strategically placed floodlights, ensuring that any unauthorized movement by land or sea would not go unnoticed. Within the grounds, a network of surveillance cameras blanketed key pathways, entrances and gathering spots. These cameras fed into a central control room, where trained security personnel monitored live feeds around the clock. The control room itself was fortified, equipped with backup power and secure communications, reflecting a meticulous approach to operational secrecy. Beyond cameras and sensors, the island's security infrastructure extended to digital surveillance. Firewalls, encrypted communications, and restricted access servers protected data and correspondence. Entry to sensitive areas, such as the main villa, the so-called temple, and administrative offices, required coded keycards, with access logs reviewed regularly for anomalies. In accordance with Islamic teachings, the intent behind these security measures warrants reflection. Islam encourages the safeguarding of property and the maintenance of privacy, but also warns against unjust surveillance and the violation of personal rights. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, cautioned against spying and prying into the affairs of others without just cause. Thus, while the island's surveillance was advanced, its ethical use remains a subject of scrutiny. For the staff, strict protocols governed their conduct. Security teams underwent thorough background checks and were required to uphold confidentiality. Regular drills and briefings emphasized not only technical proficiency, but also the moral responsibility to act with integrity and avoid unjust harm. Ultimately, the security and surveillance systems on Little St. James were among the most sophisticated in the Caribbean, a testament to the resources at the owner's disposal, but also a reminder of the balance between vigilance and virtue. As the island's story continues to unfold, questions remain about how these systems were used and whether they served to protect or to conceal. Today, Little St. James stands as a silent witness to a turbulent history. A place where opulence and secrecy once thrived, now overshadowed by investigation, uncertainty, and the slow return of nature. In the aftermath of global scrutiny and legal proceedings, The island's once bustling grounds have grown quiet. Security patrols are infrequent, and the once active surveillance systems have largely fallen dormant, their blinking lights replaced by the rhythmic chorus of wind and waves. The grand villa, stripped of its former extravagance, sits empty. Furniture and artwork have been removed, leaving behind echoing halls and sun-bleached walls. Paths once trodden by high-profile guests are now overgrown, as resilient island vegetation reclaims its territory. The iconic temple, a symbol of mystery and speculation, stands locked and unattended, a stark monument to unanswered questions. In accordance with Islamic principles, efforts have been made to ensure that the island's future is guided by justice, transparency, and the restoration of what was once lost. Local authorities, in partnership with community leaders, have initiated environmental restoration projects removing debris and rehabilitating coastal habitats. These actions aim to heal the land, honouring the Quranic teaching that humans are stewards of the earth, responsible for its care and renewal. The island's current caretakers, a small team of maintenance workers and security personnel, approach their duties with a sense of humility and responsibility. Their work is governed by clear ethical guidelines to preserve the property, protect its natural beauty, and ensure that past wrongs are not repeated. There are no lavish parties, no secret gatherings, only the quiet diligence of those committed to honest labour. Public access to Little St. James remains highly restricted, out of respect for ongoing investigations and the need to maintain order. Yet there is hope that in time the island may serve a higher purpose, perhaps as a site for ecological research, education or community benefit, in line with the Islamic value of transforming places of harm into spaces of good. For now, Little St. James is a place of reflection, its silence a reminder of both the weight of history and the possibility of redemption. With patience, transparency and faith, its next chapter may yet be written anew.